This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the man who pulled off the most mysterious hijacking in American history and vanished without a trace. So turn off the lights, close your eyes, and just listen. On the night of November 24, 1971, around 8 p.m., at an altitude of 10,000 feet, two fighter jets from the United States Air Force were chasing a flight. Seated inside that plane was a hijacker. This hijacker had already extorted a ransom of $200,000 from the government in Seattle. In today's terms, that's about $14.4 million. The plane was still under his control, and the pilot was still flying it towards the city of Reno based on his signals. During this time, darkness was spread all around at the high altitude. Strong winds were blowing, the temperature was -7 degrees Celsius, and icy rain was falling. Even in these worsening conditions, the two fighter jets followed the hijacked plane, keeping their eyes fixed on it so the hijacker could be caught. But this hijacker's plans were far higher than the thinking of the U.S. Air Force and the FBI. In the pitch-black darkness, amidst strong winds and bone-chilling cold, from an altitude of 10,000 feet, the hijacker, wearing a parachute, jumped from the plane with the money. No one present on the plane could see this feat of his, nor could the pilots and the chasing fighter jets lay their eyes on it. After this, it was as if the ground swallowed that hijacker or the sky took him away. No trace of him could be found. Even after decades of investigation, neither his body was found nor was he ever captured alive. This is the story of that hijacker, whom the world knows by the name D.B. Cooper, who carried out a hijacking that became the only unsolved hijacking case in the history of American commercial aviation. Even after more than 50 years have passed, it still remains a mystery as to who D.B. Cooper really was, where he came from, and where he disappeared in the darkness of the night amidst the sky. What will happen to D.B. Cooper? Do you believe there was an uncle? Was D.B. Cooper? His trace has never been found. Cooper and his true identity. It does feel good to unveil this. This is the only unsolved case in American history. The story begins on November 24, 1971, at Portland International Airport in the USA, from where a Boeing 727 plane was about to take off for Seattle-Tacoma International Airport as usual. Around 2 p.m., a man dressed in a black business suit, white shirt, black tie, and black sunglasses, approximately 45 years old, entered the airport carrying a black briefcase to board this plane. This man, telling his name as Dan Cooper, bought a one-way ticket to Seattle by paying $20 at the Northwest Orient Airlines counter and moved towards the boarding gate. In that era of the 1970s, there was no security checking of passengers for domestic flights, nor did anyone's identity verification take place. By just purchasing a flight ticket, any passenger could travel under any name. Therefore, neither was Dan Cooper's identity verified, nor was his briefcase checked, and he boarded Flight 305. At 2:50 p.m., Flight 305 took off, commanded by Captain William A. Scott. There were a total of 37 passengers and 6 crew members on this plane. This was a very short route flight of America, which took half an hour from Portland to Seattle. But this flight was going to be delayed in reaching its destination that day, and meanwhile, something was about to happen that would secure its place in the pages of history forever. After the flight took off, where all the passengers were lost in their own tunes, Dan Cooper was sitting in the last row in seat 18C, enjoying a cigarette and bourbon and soda. In 1970, the rules and laws of flight travel were quite different from today. At that time, smoking was allowed on flights. After settling in nicely, Cooper handed a note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner, who was sitting a short distance away. Flight attendant Schaffner thought he was flirting with her, so she put that note in her pocket without even reading it, with a formal smile. When Cooper didn't get any reaction from Schaffner for a while, he stopped her as she passed by and whispered, "Miss, you should read this note. I have a bomb." Schaffner still thought it was some joke, but when she opened the note and read it, the expression on her face changed completely. It was written on it, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase and want you to sit by me." After reading this, Schaffner looked towards Cooper, who, pointing towards his briefcase, told her that there was a bomb in this very briefcase. Those few seconds incident blew Schaffner's senses away. She immediately called her coworker Tina Mucklow nearby and told her everything while handing her the note. Tina Mucklow was also frightened after reading what was written in the note, but she mustered up courage and asked Cooper if he was joking. In response, the next moment, Cooper showed both flight attendants his briefcase, which contained 8 red sticks of dynamite tied in a bundle with tapes, to which a battery and many wires were connected. Seeing this, Schaffner and Tina Mucklow had no bounds to their fear. Increasing the nervousness of both of them, Cooper, holding 2 wires in his hand, told them that this plane had now been hijacked and he could blast this plane whenever he wanted. From here, Cooper's hijacking had begun. He closed the briefcase and made Schaffner write down his demands. Cooper wanted $200,000 American dollars, 2 backpacks, and 2 front parachutes by 5 p.m. Along with this, his demand was that when the plane lands in Seattle, A fuel truck should already be ready there to refuel it. He sent Schaffner to the pilot to deliver his list of demands with the warning that if his demands were not fulfilled or if any trickery was played with him, he would blast the bomb. The frightened Schaffner goes to the cockpit and tells the pilot William Scott and the crew the whole story. The pilot immediately informs Seattle-Tacoma Air Traffic Control about this hijacking through radio and tells them the hijacker's demands. There is also an uproar in the ATC at this news, and they forward all this information to the local police and the FBI. The FBI is alerted by the news of the hijacking and immediately talks to Donald Nyrop, the president of Northwest Orient Airlines, about this matter. Donald Nyrop was concerned about both the lives of the passengers and the respect of his airline, so, understanding the seriousness of the situation, he agreed to all of Cooper's demands without any ifs or buts. While all this was going on, Tina Mucklow, sitting in the seat next to Cooper, had become the medium of communication between Cooper and the pilot. She was conveying the talks from both sides to each other through the intercom. A little while later, American authorities tell the pilot that all of Cooper's demands have been accepted. Upon his demands being accepted, Cooper puts another demand in front of Tina Mucklow that all the notes of the amount to be given to him should be of $20, and the plane should not be landed at the airport until all the things he asked for are ready on the ground. Tina conveys this thing of Cooper to the pilot through the intercom, which the pilot then conveys to the authorities. This was only about a half-hour flight, and half an hour had passed in all these talks, and now Seattle Airport was just a few minutes away. It would take some more time to arrange Cooper's demands, so instead of landing at the airport, the plane started circling in the Seattle sky. The most interesting thing during this time was that till now, none of the passengers on this plane had any information that the plane they were sitting in had been hijacked. All the talks between Cooper and the crew were happening very carefully so that the passengers would not sense any threat. Dan Cooper's behavior was also completely different from a normal hijacker. There was no sign of fear on his forehead, nor did he want to get his work done by threatening any passenger. He was carrying out his feet while sitting comfortably in his seat, smoking a cigarette. So that there would be no panic among the passengers regarding the delay, an announcement was made from the crew's side that the plane would take a little time to land due to some mechanical problem. After this announcement, while the plane kept circling round and round in the Seattle sky for about 2 hours, in so much time, the FBI arranged $200,000 from Seattle First National Bank and 4 parachutes from Issaquah Flight School for Cooper. During that period, some funds were kept separately in banks for incidents like robbery, kidnapping, and hijacking, and all the notes' serial numbers were written down so that when such a criminal spends that money as ransom, he can be traced and caught. This work was also done in Cooper's case, and every single note of the $200,000 that was to be given to him now had its photograph and their serial numbers available with the bank and the FBI. At 5:24 p.m., the captain is informed from the ATC that the ransom money and parachutes are ready at the airport and the plane can be landed now. This is told to Cooper, who agrees with some conditions. He tells the pilot through Tina Mucklow sitting next to him that the plane should be landed on a runway with less light away from the main terminal, and the money and parachutes should be brought by a single person. Apart from this, he also orders the lights inside the plane to be dimmed and all its windows to be closed so that the movement inside the plane and information about Cooper's identity would not be available to the FBI. Following all the things told by Cooper, Flight 305 lands at Seattle-Tacoma Airport at 5:46 p.m. An airport employee reaches the rear gate of that Boeing 727 plane with $200,000 and 4 parachutes. At that time, Boeing 727 was one of those commercial planes whose gates also opened from the rear side, and stairs were also attached there for getting off and on. Cooper had chosen it for hijacking because of this special thing about this plane. On Cooper's order, Tina Mucklow comes out of the plane through the rear gate and collects a bag filled with $200,000 and 4 parachutes from there and hands them over to Cooper. Upon fulfillment of Cooper's demands, all 36 passengers and 2 crew members are released. Everything had happened so neatly that even now, no passenger had an idea that they had been hostages for 3 hours. Now only 5 people were left on the plane, which included pilot William Scott, co-pilot Bill Radizak, flight engineer Harold Anderson, and flight attendant Tina Mucklow, apart from Dan Cooper himself. Till now, everything had happened according to Cooper, and he had done all this very calmly and relaxed. But one thing had started frustrating him. Even a long time after all the passengers got off, the plane had not been refueled. This delay was happening due to a problem in the fuel truck, but Cooper was spending every moment heavily at the airport. He suspected that the FBI was playing some game with him. Therefore, Cooper, who had been coming across with a very calm nature and gentlemanly demeanor till now, also started getting frustrated and threatening the crew to refuel quickly. The authorities had now guessed from Cooper's every move that he was a very cunning person who was not easy to fool at all, because the way Cooper had asked for 4 parachutes instead of 1 was a very clever move. By asking for 4 parachutes, The FBI thought that he might also jump with a crew member or passenger, so the FBI could not play the trick of giving him a bad parachute by risking the lives of civilians. Without getting entangled in Cooper's cunning mind, 3 fuel trucks were immediately deployed to refuel the plane. After refueling, Cooper placed some more conditions before the plane took off again. His first demand was that the plane should now be taken to Mexico City, but he is told that the plane cannot be taken directly so far because to go there, the plane would need to be refueled once again in between. After a little thought, Cooper gives permission to refuel at Reno Airport in Nevada before Mexico. Cooper's second demand was that the stairs at the back of the plane should be kept open all the time. But it was risky to take off with open stairs, so he is told that after takeoff, when the plane is in the air, the rear stairs will be opened upon his saying. Cooper agrees to this too and, placing his next demands, orders to keep the plane below 10,000 feet altitude and fly at less than 150 knots speed. Along with this, he also demands to keep the flaps down at 15 degrees and the landing gears open. All these demands are accepted, and Flight 305 takes off in the air once again at 7:40 p.m. The FBI was also surprised to see Cooper's so many calculations. This hijacker was not only civilized, who did not even misbehave with anyone, let alone beat anyone during the entire journey, but he was also an intelligent and cunning criminal who had come for his mission with full preparation. But the FBI could not sit idle. When Flight 305 started moving towards Reno flying on a low-altitude route called Victor 23 with Cooper's instructions, 2 F-106 fighter jets were put behind it from McCord Air Force Base to intercept it. But these fighter jets were made to fly at very high speeds. In such a situation, when the Boeing 727 itself was moving at a speed of 150 knots, both fighter jets needed to move at even lower speed to stay behind it. Finding a solution to this difficulty, both jets started chasing the flight by making a series of S-turns. Apart from this, a T-33 trainer jet was also sent for this work, which could stay behind the flight at low speed. But this day was different. This incident was something special. During this time, anything being normal was like a miracle about to happen. The evening had passed, and the darkness of the night had surrounded the entire atmosphere. The moon was also there in the sky only for the sake of it, which the clouds had completely covered, due to which there was minimal light. Strong winds, temperature going into minus, and icy rain had made it even more thrilling. Even in such a situation, at an altitude of 10,000 feet, 3 jets were chasing this flight, whose passenger cabin had Cooper and Tina Mucklow, and silence prevailed there. After some moments of silence, Cooper also asked Tina to go to the cockpit and started wearing the parachute himself. When Tina started instructing him to wear the parachute, he indicated that he did not need her help, after which Tina started moving towards the cockpit. When Tina came into the cockpit and as she turned back to close the cockpit door, she saw that Cooper was tying the money to his chest. She closed the door completely on Cooper's signal and sat with the rest of the crew. Some time after this, around 8 p.m. at night, a warning light lights up in the cockpit, which was a sign that the stairs at the back of the plane had been opened. The pilot asked Cooper through the intercom if someone should be sent to help him, in response to which Cooper just got angry. He did not want any interference. At this time, the plane was quite far from reaching Reno, and there were only mountains, rivers, and forests below it. Air was coming into the plane with high speed. A few minutes after this, at 8:13, the crew sitting in the cockpit felt a very strong jolt in air pressure, which was then relieved by the pilot, after which the plane stabilized a little after some time. About 2 hours later, at 10:15 at night, the plane lands at Reno Tahoe International Airport, whose rear stairs were still open at that time. The plane is surrounded from all sides by FBI agents, local police, and state troopers. The plane is searched, every inch of it is combed, but no trace of Cooper is found in it. He was last seen only when Tina Mucklow was closing the cockpit door. After that, in the darkness of the night, piercing cold, and strong winds, he had jumped from the plane's rear door with $200,000 over the area of mountains, rivers, and forests. Due to bad weather, the 3 jets that were following him also could not see him jumping. During the search of the flight, the FBI finds his black tie, the clip attached to it, and 8 leftover cigarette butts from the cigarette he smoked at the seat where Cooper was sitting. Along with this, 2 parachutes are also recovered there, which had been left by Cooper. But apart from this, the FBI finds neither the bomb, nor the money, nor any trace of Cooper in the plane. Cooper had also taken with him that handwritten note that he had given to the flight attendant. Everyone knew that Cooper had jumped, but no one had the right answer as to where, because no one had seen him jump. But in this matter, the flight's crew gives important information that while passing through the Victor 23 route, a strong jolt was felt in the plane at 8:13 at night. Cooper must have jumped at that time. Thinking this, the pilot had noted down the timing and location here. According to this route and timing, Cooper had jumped in the southwest area of Washington state, about 50 kilometers away from Portland, near the Columbia and Lewis rivers, in areas surrounded by forests and hills. All in all, Cooper had ended up back around Portland, from where he had hijacked the plane. A search team was immediately sent there for his search, and a rough sketch of Dan Cooper was made with the help of the crew. After this, the biggest mission ever launched by the FBI to find any criminal in the history of America begins, which was named Norjak. At that time, neither the FBI nor the world knew that this was a case that would leave such a story on the pages of history that would be mentioned even decades later. The next morning after Cooper disappeared, when a big team was sent by the FBI to find Cooper, during several days of search in that very large area of jungle, river, and mountains, no clue of Cooper could be found. To know his best possible landing location, the FBI recreated the entire scene and saw. For this, the same hijacked aircraft was flown on the same route with the same conditions, and from the location told by the pilot, a 200-pound slab was thrown from the rear stairs of the plane. In this way, the possible landing zone that emerged was a few miles southeast of Ariel and 40 miles north of Seattle near Lake Merwin. There too, the FBI started a search operation. Thousands of military troops and police officers searched the jungles and rivers. Every single farmhouse and house present there was searched. On one hand, a military force of thousands was searching for Cooper on foot in every inch. On the other hand, the entire area started being scanned by helicopter as well. Apart from this, a submarine was also deployed in Lake Merwin to find Cooper, and the spy plane State Route 71 also got engaged in this work. But even after a very long search, every trick proved unsuccessful. Neither Cooper's dead body was found, nor was he captured alive. Neither the parachute used by him was found, nor any clue of the $200,000 could be found. Where the FBI's frustration regarding this case was increasing, on the other hand, the media and public's fascination with it started touching the sky. Everyone wanted to know who that mysterious person was, where he was from, and where he finally went missing in the sky amidst darkness. The extent of craze people had for this case can be estimated from the fact that when this hijacking happened, in a hurry, a reporter wrote his name as D.B. Cooper instead of Dan Cooper in the newspaper. After this, many other publication houses also used the same name. Since then, this name spread like wildfire in the world, and thus the name of that mysterious hijacker itself changed. Although Dan Cooper, the name he had written on the ticket, was also a fake name, upon whose inquiry the FBI did not get any record of any person. Later it was found out that Dan Cooper was the name of a character from a popular Belgian comic book of the 1950s, who was a Canadian jet pilot. After this information came out, the FBI started feeling that the hijacker was inspired by this comic book itself, and that's why he kept his name Dan Cooper. In the beginning, the FBI believed that Cooper could not jump successfully from the plane and died falling somewhere. An FBI investigator, Ralph Himmelsbach, who had given the whole mission the codename Norjak, believed that Cooper would not have been able to open the parachute properly and would have died after colliding with some mountain or tree. Many other FBI agents and experts like him gave the theory that at the time Cooper jumped, the weather was very bad, there was darkness of night, and the temperature was below -7 degrees. Strong winds were blowing, and icy rain was falling. In such bad weather, Cooper had chosen such military parachutes to jump, which were very difficult to operate, leaving easy-to-use parachutes. Apart from this, his get-up was not at all suitable for skydiving. He had neither a helmet, nor gloves, nor skydiving glasses and shoes. In such a situation, he had jumped in the area of mountains, jungles, and rivers, laden with a bag filled with $200,000 and a briefcase, due to which he had no chance of survival. But this presumption of the FBI was dispelled in just a short time when, after Cooper's incident, one after another, many copycat hijackings happened, in which every hijacker hijacked the plane like Cooper, took ransom of millions of dollars, and landed safely by jumping from the plane in normal clothes without any skydiving kit. Although all these copycat hijackers were arrested by the FBI, the one who could not be caught was D.B. Cooper. The FBI investigated in every possible way to catch him. Where he was being searched in the possible landing zone by military, police, helicopters, spy jets, and submarines, on the other hand, the FBI got the serial number of every note given to Cooper printed in newspapers. Serial numbers were distributed to every place where they could be spent, including banks, shops, and casinos. People were appealed that if anyone found a note of any of these serial numbers, they should inform the FBI. This appeal was sent to the whole world through Interpol. Apart from this, the FBI investigated about 800 suspects in the 5 years after the hijacking, but only about 24 of them were marked who had any chance of being D.B. Cooper. But after investigating all of them deeply as well, the FBI only got disappointment. The twist in this whole story comes when in February 1980, 8-year-old Brian Ingram finds 3 bundles of $20 notes in the sand of Tina Bar Beach near the Columbia River, which were in very shabby condition, and their total amount was about $5,800. The serial numbers on them exactly matched the money given to D.B. Cooper. The FBI had got the first solid clue about the hijacking after almost 9 years, so it was hoped that this case would now be solved. But actually, the case got more tangled here instead of being solved. Actually, the place from where this money was found was 20 miles away from where Cooper's landing zone was being searched and understood. In such a situation, the question was, how did this money get here from there? There could be 2 reasons for this money being here. The first was that Cooper had jumped somewhere around this place, and hence some money fell while jumping and remained here. The second possibility was that Cooper had jumped where he was being searched, but some money fell from his bag while jumping, and flowing through the Lewis River, reached the Columbia River, and then reached Tina Bar Beach. But the problem here was that the place where the Lewis River meets the Columbia River flows in the opposite direction of Tina Bar. In such a situation, it was not possible for that money to flow in the opposite direction of the river and reach there together in one place. Whatever the reason for the money reaching there, immediately after the money was found, the FBI started searching there. Many places were dug up, the surrounding area was searched, but the FBI did not find anything apart from these 3 bundles. No more money was found, no torn piece of the parachute was found, and no other clue related to Cooper was found. In this way, the years changed. Neither was Cooper found, nor did the FBI's investigation stop. Every possible area was searched. All suspects similar to D.B. Cooper were investigated. Some of these suspects were even handed over to the FBI by their family members themselves. Someone told his uncle was D.B. Cooper, someone said his brother was D.B. Seeing the popularity of this case, some people handed themselves over to the FBI, claiming to be D.B. Cooper. But even after years of investigation, the FBI did not get any solid proof of any of them being D.B. Cooper. Seeing the years change into decades, and after investigating about 1,000 suspects deeply during these 40 years, by this time so many files of this case had been made that if they were kept one on top of the other, their height would have been about 40 feet. Among the suspects targeted by the FBI, the most important suspect was Richard Floyd McCoy, who had hijacked the same company's plane in the same way about 4 months after Cooper's hijacking in 1972. He had extorted a ransom of $500,000 and jumped from the plane just like Cooper. However, he was caught just 5 days later, but when he was investigated, he was not the real Cooper. He was only 29 years old, whereas Cooper's age was around 45. Therefore, due to his age and the description of the flight attendants, he was separated from the list of being Cooper. Later, he was shot dead by the police while escaping from jail. An equally interesting case was seen in 1995 when a woman named Jo Weber claimed that her late husband, Dwayne Weber, was D.B. Cooper. According to Jo, a few years before his death, Dwayne had taken her on a trip to the Pacific Northwest. After driving some distance, he stopped the car near the Columbia River, asked his wife to wait there, and disappeared for a while. This was around the same area from where the child Brian Ingram had found the money. According to Jo, her husband had buried that money there. But Jo's dead husband Dwayne Weber, whom she was calling D.B. Cooper, was indeed a criminal, but his DNA did not match Cooper's, due to which he was also not the real D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper had chosen a military parachute to jump, and the way he had a good understanding of the Boeing 727, experts also believed that D.B. Cooper was someone associated with the military who had experience of skydiving with a military parachute. Based on all these grounds, another person's name came up as being D.B. Cooper, whose name was Kenneth Christensen. This person had worked for Northwest Orient Airlines and had also been a paratrooper, so he had a lot of experience with military parachutes. He lived in the same area where the hijacking happened, and the thing that highlighted him the most as being D.B. Cooper was that his face closely resembled D.B. Cooper's, and his nature was also quite similar to Cooper's. Along with this, he had a hobby of cigarettes and bourbon drinks. A year after the hijacking, he bought a very big house against his earning status. His brother also found a note written by him in which he had talked to some Hollywood director about making a movie on himself. Before dying, he had told his brother that there was a secret that he should know, but he would not tell him. This seems like a perfect match for D.B. Cooper, but all these things could come out only many years after his death by his brother. Along with this, considering all these things as mere coincidence, the FBI did not consider Kenneth Christensen as D.B. Cooper. Apart from him, many other important suspects were linked to D.B. Cooper, but no one could prove to be D.B. Cooper in the investigation. In this way, even after investigating thousands of suspects and searching many places for 45 years, no trace of D.B. Cooper could be found. The cigarette butts from his seat had mysteriously disappeared in the later years, and the clues from his tie also could not help in finding him. This case, which had become a story full of mysteries for the world, had become a headache for the FBI. Therefore, in July 2016, the FBI, tired and frustrated, closed this case. But D.B. Cooper's case is so popular that even now, many independent investigators are trying their luck to solve the mystery of D.B. Cooper. Whereas D.B. Cooper had made a fan following for himself in America, and he had become a hero for many people. People believed that the way Cooper carried out the hijacking very neatly and disappeared and kept fooling the FBI was commendable. There is a bar a short distance from Ariel, Washington, where Cooper jumped, where every year on November 24th, the day is celebrated as D.B. Cooper Day, and his success is celebrated. Today, more than 50 years have passed, but even now this mystery has not been revealed as to who this D.B. Cooper really was, what his real name was, where he came from, and where he disappeared in the darkness of the night and amidst the strong storm after jumping from an altitude of 10,000 feet in the sky. And that was the story of D.B. Cooper, a mystery that remains unsolved to this very day. If this tale kept you hooked, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more unbelievable real stories. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep wondering.